World War II was a theater of extremes, colossal battles, innovations that defied imagination, and stories so strange they bordered on the supernatural. Among these, few incidents captured the imagination of airmen, historians, and the public, like the tale of the Phantom Fortress, a bomber that returned to base, completely intact, with no crew aboard. It was an era when aviation was still young. Aircraft had revolutionized warfare, but they were fragile, temperamental machines, vulnerable to the elements, mechanical failure, and the chaos of combat. Pilots relied not only on skill, but on luck, on the unwavering precision of gears, engines, and instruments. And yet, sometimes the machines seemed to possess a will of their own. In 1943, the United States Army Air Forces were conducting bombing missions over German-occupied Europe. B-17 flying fortresses, the legendary flying fortresses, were the backbone of strategic bombing campaigns. These aircraft were heavily armed, with multiple gun turrets, and capable of long-range missions, but they demanded precise coordination. Every crew member had a vital role: pilot, co-pilot, navigator, bombardier, radio operator, gunners. A single misstep could be fatal. On one particular night, a B-17 named the Phantom Fortress took off from a base in England. The crew consisted of 10 men, each trained to perfection, each aware of the risks. Their mission was routine, at least as routine as bombing missions over hostile territory could be. Clouds obscured visibility, anti-aircraft fire rumbled in the distance, and the men communicated calmly over the intercom, their voices steady against the roar of the engines. Hours into the mission, something inexplicable occurred. The aircraft was hit by anti-aircraft fire, or perhaps struck by a mechanical anomaly. Accounts vary. Soon after, the crew disappeared. Radar operators on the ground reported a B-17 entering a descent, but there was no radio communication. Fellow planes in the formation observed the aircraft drifting alone, as though guided by some unseen hand. By the time the aircraft approached its home airfield, controllers and ground crew expected to witness a crash. The B-17, damaged and silent, descended steadily. And then, impossibly, it landed on the runway, perfectly aligned, wheels touching tarmac without any signs of a pilot or crew. The engines, still running, had somehow decelerated safely, and the flaps had extended. Ground personnel rushed forward in disbelief. The cockpit was empty. No crew, no body, no explanation. The bomber was intact, its ammunition untouched. The bombs it carried, if any, were secured. It seemed as though the aircraft had flown itself home. Those who witnessed the scene reported a surreal silence, only the distant hum of engines and the occasional chatter of astonished men. Some described it as a ghostly apparition, a machine guided by fate rather than human hands. Investigations followed. Engineers examined the controls, flight logs, and mechanical systems. There were theories. The autopilot might have engaged in an unusual way, maintaining course over long distances. Perhaps the co-pilot or pilot had been ejected or incapacitated, yet the plane's last inputs were sufficient to guide it home. Some suggested that the aircraft had been buffeted by wind currents and thermals, carrying it in a near-perfect glide back to base. Others whispered of paranormal interference, spirits of airmen lost in combat guiding their comrades' plane to safety. The Phantom Fortress became legend. Its story spread quickly, not just among military personnel, but also in newspapers and intelligence reports. Writers, journalists, and historians debated how such an event could occur. Was it coincidence, mechanical marvel, or something beyond explanation? Regardless, the incident captured the imagination of all who heard it, embodying the strange, unpredictable nature of war. Beyond its mystery, the Phantom Fortress also symbolized the incredible engineering of the B-17. These aircraft were designed with redundancy and reliability in mind. Multiple engines, backup systems, and robust flight structures meant that even when heavily damaged, the bomber could remain airborne. Perhaps this was a testament to the genius of early aviation engineers, a machine built with precision so extraordinary that it could survive against all odds, even without human guidance. The crew's fate remained another question. Some speculated that they had been thrown from the plane over the North Sea or inland Europe. Others believed they might have ejected safely under extraordinary circumstances, yet no bodies were recovered in some versions of the tale. The plane's perfect return, without human intervention, elevated the story from a wartime anomaly to legend, a ghost plane in the literal sense. In the decades that followed, pilots recounted the story to one another, embellishing details with each retelling. The Phantom Fortress became part of aviation lore, often cited alongside other mysterious wartime incidents. Scholars studied it, engineers theorized, and filmmakers dramatized it. But the core remained the same. A B-17 had landed itself, with no living crew aboard, intact and unscathed, defying reason and understanding. This story, while extraordinary, also highlights the perils and unpredictability of early aerial warfare. Pilots flew in extreme conditions, often over enemy territory, relying on rudimentary instruments and their own intuition. Mechanical failures were common, and the air war demanded ingenuity, courage, and occasionally luck so improbable that it seemed miraculous. The Phantom Fortress was a symbol of that miraculous luck, a perfect convergence of technology, physics, and circumstance. Modern aviation enthusiasts and historians still debate the technical explanations. Some point to autopilot malfunctions, combined with favorable wind conditions and the aircraft's aerodynamic stability. Others argue that minimal human input at a critical moment may have guided the plane home. Whatever the cause, the phenomenon of a crewless B-17 returning intact remains one of the most compelling stories of World War II aviation. It serves as a reminder that war is not only about strategy and force, but also about chance, invention, and the thin boundary between life and death. The Phantom Fortress, with its empty cockpit and impossible flight, reminds us that in war, reality can be stranger than fiction. Even today, images of the B-17, sometimes recreated in models and simulations, evoke awe. It is celebrated not only for its role in strategic bombing, but also for moments like this, moments when machines appeared to act with purpose, almost as if animated by the spirits of the men who flew them. The story of the Phantom Fortress continues to inspire pilots, engineers, and storytellers. It reminds us that sometimes, in the midst of chaos and destruction, the world produces events so improbable, so surreal, that they transcend the ordinary and enter the realm of legend. A bomber returning on its own, guided by fate, luck, or the enduring genius of engineering, it remains one of World War II's most enduring mysteries. Perhaps, in a way, it also reflects the resilience of humanity. For every story of tragedy in the skies, there are tales of miraculous survival, of machines defying the odds, and of the human spirit enduring in extraordinary ways. The Phantom Fortress is one such story, a tale of mystery, marvel, and the unpredictable poetry of war.